28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
22 seconds.
19.
18.
17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12. 11.
10 seconds. 9.
8.
7.
6.
6 what?
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to all the cadets here at Subspace Chatter. Over the course of this semester, we'll be boldly exploring the episodes before us, not only as entertainment, but as case studies. We'll analyze command decisions, ethical dilemmas, and even the occasional warp core breach in narrative logic. This week, we'll be analyzing the current episode, and I'm going to say this wrong, Vitus Reflux. I think I said that right. Maybe I did.
Thank you.
Hey, Latin's not my thing. So lower your shields and prepare to beam up some opinions that we have on these episodes. My name is Eve. My voice is a little rough, so forgive me. It's kind of cold here. But I'm Lieutenant Commander Eve Zellick, and I'm with the Starfleet Fandom Academy, which is a real thing as a director. And I'm going to get everyone else here to introduce themselves. So, Victoria.
Thanks. I'm Victoria, and I host Star Trek Sundays on Clubhouse, and you can find it on YouTube as well. And we talk about philosophy through the lens of Star Trek.
I'm Phyllis, a former Star Trek writer on some legacy shows, Voyager and Enterprise, and have been wrapped up in what I call the new Star Trek since it premiered, and have been following reactions ever since.
Michelle.
I'm Michelle. I've been a fan since the 1990s, and I've been brought on board by Dan Leckie, who also lives in the same town as me, and I've been recruited recently as a reviewer for his website.
Great.
Okay. So let's just start. We'll be generic. Overall thoughts on this episode. I'm going to reserve mine till after all you've spoken. So overall thoughts on this episode. Victoria, go ahead.
Well, look, I said it last week. I think that I do not like to shit on other people's fun. And if this is really great for some people, I'm seeing lots of really positive reviews. I think people just like to like Star Trek. I like Star Trek for philosophy and deep thinking and emotion, and I'm not getting any of that. So I'm finding that they don't let the tension build at all. They have a problem, and a minute and a half later, it's fixed. And if I want to see a Tarantino film, I'll put a Tarantino film on.
I'm really character driven, and so far, this seemed to me to be the episode that kind of hit the nail on the head with friendship and joining the team, which I appreciate as a theme, but I thought was heavy-handed. And once again, I think that for me, the jury's definitely out, and I need to see more of this series before coming to real conclusions.
That's fair. Michelle?
I'm with Phyllis in a way. It's still kind of early doors, but I actually thought this title was quite intriguing. And I want to actually know what the Vitus Reflux was before I settled down, because I thought, what is this? And then when I found out what it was, I was like, okay, I think we're going to have a bit of fun here. And I think it's actually a good, not a bad case study on like rivalry between amongst young people.
I'll be honest, and Dan knows this about me. I'm bad with episode titles, so I actually had to look up the title of this one this morning. For me, I'm still getting a sense of Starfleet 90210, or,
Very much.
Starfleet, the Degrassi generation.
Mhm.
That's sort of the feeling I'm getting from it. Although I'm going to throw this out there right off the top because this is bothering me. That plant, does it not look like the piranha plant from the Super Mario game?
It also looks like, oh God, the plant from
Rocky
the
Horror
Little
Show?
Shop of Horrors.
yeah,
Yes.
the
Horrors, that's it.
Audrey.
yes,
Audrey
yes.
too.
Well, and what it reminded me, I went crazy last year or 2 years ago with these dancing cactuses that you'd see and the babies reacting to the dancing cactuses that copied you. I don't know if you saw those memes going around, but they're just these toys that repeat the sounds they
Right.
hear, right? And that's exactly like it took me sort of out of the show because I thought of Audrey too. And then the thing just kept repeating like one of these cactuses. And I know it's supposed to be empathy, but empathy isn't mirroring. But anyway.
Yeah, I was like piranha plant. Like that was my initial reaction was piranha plants. But now that you say it, Audrey too, you now have expected hear feed me Seymour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I personally thought it was like a space age version of a Venus flytrap.
It certainly looked that way. And it came out of nowhere, and I know it fit into the entire puzzle of the episode, but I was kind of like, why her? Why this? And it was, it kind of grazed over me a little more. I didn't think it, I didn't catch that. Somehow I missed that its name was the episode name so that it had more significance. But I thought just watching it was an odd interlude. And I think I would have understood it better if the doctor had been introducing it or something like that.
Dan just sent me a message and he's like, the screeching plants made me think of Harry Potter. Actually, I've gotten kind of a Harry Potter feel off this show so far too. Like, right up to
Quidditch.
Quidditch. Exactly. I was like sitting there watching and I'm like, oh, Quidditch, Starfleet style. Like I don't know.
You know what? I get rivalries, but because they're all so new, I think everything is just a little hyperbolic for me. Everything, every single thing is right from the feet to the yelling, to just every way the characters act. They're just this is my shtick, and I'm going to be only this shtick. And then the rivalry between the two schools, when in fact, I guess the War College doesn't want Starfleet to succeed for some reason, but you'd think, wow, they're going to be doing something different. Now we can go to war and they can be the peace or whatever. But it seems odd to me. And perhaps something like that happens in the military. But getting back to what Phyllis had said about the characters in the rivalry and the games, I just thought that all of that stuff could be spread out a little, and having everything wrapped up so fast. Like it would have been better if, say, now I'm going to forget all their names. The one who was the captain, and then he gave it over to Genesis.
Oh, Demi or something.
Remy.
Remy.
Yeah, but like all of that learning happened in one episode, right? Like to me, it would have been better if there was some wrap up, but it feels like they don't want any tension to last at all. And we know from other Star Trek, maybe legacy Star Trek, that tension, that worry is what makes it real. It's what makes us interested. I'm not interested if I know it's going to be wrapped up in 2 minutes. I'm not interested in having, a heartstring pulled and then let go right away. Right? I want that tension, and there's none of it.
Yeah, to me, I used to have this saying about character. What you don't want to do is have it a trait that's sort of pin the tail on the donkey, and this trait was trying to live up to your whatever you say in terms of being abandoned by your parents or trying to live up and never being good enough. It's kind of his thing, and it's so obvious. I didn't need to actually know that. I could just take his behavior on the field of battle and play to let me know that he's an asshole for more of a reason. And I really didn't like just the mechanism by which they showed that he wasn't that his parents had abandoned him, which was saying, I think there's something wrong with my pad. I'm not getting any messages. That was very clunky.
Yeah.
And once again, I sort of write it up to early days. And I also know that in this case, since the first 2 episodes seem to have been of a pair, the episode that always follows tends to be one of the weakest, which, again, not having seen it, but I know that it's a little hard to sort of figure out what are you going to show about these people after you've had the excitement of the first and the larger themes of the second. So
I just think if he had been left out of this one, and maybe in the next episode he gets his jacket, there was just some longer trials and situations, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Honestly, a lot of this feels like the average teen movie. Like it feels like a teen movie. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what they're going for. Because it's very tropey. Like I was saying to my partner, because he's a writer, I was saying to him, I was like, right away I knew that Raimi would be, I was like, Genesis is not going to follow him. She'll go along with things, but she can't follow him because she knows he's in it for him. At the end of the day, while she might be a little bit cold, she's in it for the team. And I'm like, right. I can see right away, like those two were not gonna, they were not gonna mesh. And I don't know, it feels like they're trying to force them to be a team. Like I get that in Star Trek, we've had like the teams of misfits, like Voyager crew. That's a team of misfits at the end of the day. But this feels like they're kind of squishing.
But that was a team that had the motivation of needing to survive, which is a big Star Trek larger goal. And this is kind of
they don't have motivation.
They don't have motivation except for the push by Nala or Starfleet Academy as a whole to make up for their wretched childhoods and teach them values that somehow they haven't gotten at all.
Well, so it feels like, and I say this a bit hesitantly because I don't want to crap on writers, right? But it feels like the writers haven't seen legacy Star Trek. But also they haven't ever been on a team, because that's not how you become captain. You're not the best player. You don't win the challenge to become captain. You've got to be a good player, but you're the captain of your peers because your peers want you to be captain. right? So if you're the
Right.
captain of the hockey team, like an NHL hockey team, you become the captain because your players want you to become the captain, because they will follow you. They have now elected you the leader. So that isn't how you get to be captain. And so I'm left there going, okay, like Starfleet, like I'm just disappointed in Starfleet. Like I'm like that.
Right.
I would not send my kids to Starfleet right now.
It's definitely an experiment, and it's in its early days. Once again, I think it was clever to put it in the 32nd century because they did want to cut ties and use the burn as the ultimate metaphor for the traumatic childhood that Gen Z's experienced in terms of the world and our U.S. president and all of
Right, but
that.
but it first of all, is Gen Z watching Paramount? Like this isn't going out to
They're
everybody.
desperate to have Gen Z watch
Right,
Paramount.
but this isn't going to grab Gen Z. They're smarter than this,
I
right?
thought
Like,
so.
yeah, my friends' kids are Gen Z, and they're not going to be. This isn't it. You have to be smarter, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked
Yeah.
last week. Like Veronica Mars was a smart show that adults and teens could watch, and 20
Right.
something. Like it was for everybody, right? I've got to say, and I'm going to stop talking because I'm kind of excited in a kind of excitable way, but it has me afraid for Star Trek. I know we as fans want Star Trek to keep going. I'm not sure I care if this is what we're going to get, because I'm not sure that, I mean, I'm going to, because of you guys, I'm probably going to give it more of a go than I would have otherwise. But I'm going to be happy just to go back and watch Deep Space Nine and Voyager, to be honest. But anyway, I'll hand it over to
Well,
even
what's
Michelle now.
interesting is that Enterprise has gotten this second life, if you
Mhm.
will, because of Netflix, the way Suits did, or Friends did, and that's what Gen Z's watching.
Yeah.
Ironically, so I think there's this trying too hard to get a demo, and really leaning on the teenage tropes, as Eve has pointed out. And I'm not sure that Gen Z wants to watch teenage tropes. Maybe it's Gen Alpha. I don't know. But
Yeah, Gen Zs are in their 20s because
yeah, exactly.
I
Gen
work
Alpha
with a lot of Gen
teenagers.
Zs. I work with a lot of Gen Zs at my night job, and I mean, I can guarantee you they're not watching this. So
Mhm.
if Gen Zs are their target audience, they've totally failed.
Yeah, I've got at least two like family members who are Gen Alphas, and they're both quite sassy. One's 11 and one's 6 at the moment.
Oh,
So a wee bit
interesting.
young for teenage stuff, but still.
So, well, that's aspirational for them, but it's,
Yeah.
but you know, a lot of us came to Star Trek in reruns because we were we were too young to
Kids.
watch.
Yeah.
And but we were early teens or something, or maybe a little younger than that, and we still wanted the power of the legacy Star Trek.
Yeah, my mother was watching the original series when it was broadcast in the UK on Sky One.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
going back to the late 80s, early 90s. And I just sat down there and watched it with her. So
Yep.
and then she just ended up waiting for me to come down, come home or whatever, and just watched it with me. And that's how I play.
Like for me, I came to it when I was like a teenager, because I was born in '85, so I was a little young for the original, and I was not around for the original. I was a little young for TNG. I was a little young for TNG. I was a little young for Deep Space Nine. So I came to it as a teenager, and at the time I was homeschool, and the Space Channel here in Canada, back when people actually had cable, the Space Channel used to run 4 hours of Star Trek Original,
Awesome.
Star Trek Next Gen, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager. They'd run it in the middle of the day back to back. And I had it in the background while I was doing schoolwork. So
Well, I was about 17, 18 when Mum started watching it.
Cool.
And so
I think I was 11 or 12 when I literally caught the original in reruns.
yeah,
And I can remember the first episode I saw, which was, it's called The Deadly Years. And it's when Kirk and Spock, they age and have to figure out how to get back to their young selves. When I turned on the episode, it was mid-episode. And I'm like, who are these old people? What's going on? Not what's going on. I had no idea. I thought it was about these old people.
the first new series I would have watched was The Next Generation.
Yeah.
So,
and you can probably remember the early episodes you watched in that.
That was my teenage years, and then because I'm the same age as Will Wheaton, and then it come into my early 20s. It was like Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
So trying to transpose that to coming to Starfleet Academy with whatever expectations you have or don't have. Is this entertaining just in and of itself? And I thought, again, as an episode of 90210, it was entertaining, even though it was clunky. I do want to say that I liked specific moments. Like, I really liked when Genesis came up with the strategy that got them the win in Calica, and by shooting out the lights and things like that, that felt clever and Star Trek-y to me. And I appreciated her more. So
see, there's a moment for me in this episode that stands out because it's a callback to Discovery.
Oh.
Well, we see the conversation between Reno and Laura, I just call her number one.
Right.
We see the conversation between them about dinner and everything. And that's when we get confirmation that, yes, they are a couple. And I like that it's just there, like it was in Discovery. The only reason we knew Stamets and Culber were a couple was they were brushing their teeth together and sharing a morning routine. That's something that I will say this episode did very well. It's just there. There's no like fanfare. There's no parade. No nothing. It's just there.
Nice and special.
Yeah.
And watching them argue about dinner, like, any of us who is part of a partnership or anything or has been in a relationship knows, you argue about stupid stuff like dinner. So,
right. It just, to me, it felt like that was just plugged in there to tick a box, though. It didn't feel like it was, not that every single thing has to be part of a story. I'm coming to this biased. I cannot stand Jet, right? The sarcasm is just so thick and it's not funny. I don't know what the purpose is, right? So, and I'm coming from somebody who's only seen a few Discovery episodes, so maybe you guys love her for some reason. But
well, she's really bringing Tig herself to the role. Like,
and I used to like Tig. That's the thing. Like, but as a comedian, but so that to me, I just thought, I think because I love Star Trek for its wokeness. I love Star Trek for its messaging, right? But I think in that moment, I was like, okay, so this is where people are going. This is too woke. Like, I don't like that language or anything, but I was kind of getting like, okay, so what? So what? Right? Like, I don't care. I don't care if they are together or they're not together. So why do I need to know this now? Maybe for later, we'll bring it up later. Like, I don't, that to me, I think is part of the problem. They're ticking some boxes, but while they're doing the box ticking, they're too busy ticking boxes and not writing a story, right? So yes, I understand that. I like that was just some casual thing. I get it, but I think in some way it was shoehorned in, again, to tick some boxes. But
For me, it felt like being at work because I work 2 jobs. One of them's in a music school, and conversations like that one happen all the time between it just happens if you've got teachers that are friends, which most of us are, or teachers that may be in a partnership. Those kind of random conversations happen, like, so to me it was a comfortable scene, I guess, because it's like, okay, that's something I see in my work, so I can relate to that. It was like the first relatable moment for me.
yeah, because it was an adult scene.
Yeah.
It was an adult scene. Plus, I'll be honest, and because this whole show takes place in a school, I have to be honest. My experience in school was not a typical experience that most people have going to school. So I have serious biases when it comes to anything that takes place with a bunch of teenagers because I never had that experience. So I can't relate to it. Like the prank wars, all that stuff, I can't relate to all that because I homeschooled for a chunk of my life. So I don't have that way of, like, I don't have those memories or anything. And I have to wonder if maybe that's what they're going for with the older Trek fans, is trying to be like, oh, let's put this here, let's put that there, because it's something they would have experienced going to school.
No,
Well,
we didn't though. That's the thing. I think it's a trope. Like it's not something.
It reminds me a little bit of the college rivalries that happen, and a pranking of going to an away game and doing something to the statue in the courtyard or something like that. It's a very collegey feel to me that doesn't fit with this, but that's where I've seen pranks be sort of institutionalized. But it's a little harder, I guess, maybe in prep schools, because this is like a prep school, because they all live together. They're boarding. It's a boarding school, college, whatever. And I think I'm talking myself out of my point, which is, yes, this is college, so pranking could be a part of it. And it was kind of funny, but once again, I had this blank wall of the War College, and it seems like the War College is just functioning to support, what's her name, Tatima, the Betazoid, Tarima. Okay, I knew it was something like that. That basically it's just this blank place that she occupies. Because, for example, I saw my first Vulcan in the War College, and I'm like, well, Vulcans to Betazoids would be very interesting to see interact. And I saw none of that, and I kind of missed the Vulcans. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it interesting that, like, the War College, we see Vulcans, we see Betazoid, like, we're seeing species that we wouldn't normally associate with a War College.
Yeah, no kidding. And maybe that's here's the break from the past sort of thing. Just like we're seeing a pacifist Klingon.
Yeah, the pacifist Klingon I can get, because we have seen Klingons that have chosen ways other than the warrior life. Like we had Kalar, we've had, there was that Vulcan scientist in the Next Generation episode where they hunt down the progenitors, like the place that seeded the galaxy. So we know that, so there's already a precedent that there are Klingons that choose a different path.
Yeah.
But like being a Vulcan, and a Romulan in a War College totally makes sense, but but a Vulcan, a Betazoid, stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to like, I get that they want to update Star Trek and they're in the 32nd century, but it feels like it's forced. Like they're forcing so much change to the point where we don't even recognize these species that we've come to know. And I
That's
get
a
that
really good
species would
point.
evolve. Species would evolve. I totally get that, but it just feels pushed, like a Vulcan who thinks that pranking is, something that they want to do. Like, when he's like,
Or wants to fit in so desperately that he'll go along.
yeah, I mean, because he says, right, that he says on the screen, we did it because we can and because it's fun. And I'm like, I don't know, it takes me out of the experience of the show because it's too much. Like,
Well, when they were on the screen, did they do this?
yeah,
Like, I think they did
Yeah,
that,
they
and I
did do
thought,
that.
yeah, they
first
did the
of all,
kissing
you'd be
hands and
kicked
then they did the
out.
middle finger. Like, what the heck?
And I'm sorry, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are not going to accept that this war college, these people transported a person who was naked into a public space. That's going to be some sort of sexual harassment or something, right? And then to do this, I was like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's just missing
See,
the
I don't
mark.
get, to me too, like, and I think I said this last time, the way they're forcing swearing and stuff into the show, it doesn't fit because why would all these diverse cultures use earth-based swear words? I mean, gestures are not universal. You know, to most of us in the Commonwealth countries like Canada, UK, etc., we do this and it means like a-okay. But in a country like I believe it's Brazil, it's a completely obscene gesture.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
gestures are not universal, swear words are not universal. So why do we have so much
It's,
earth-based?
it's the same if you go to some other countries. You shake your
Yeah.
head. That actually means yes in some places.
Yeah. So
Right.
why they like I like that other science fiction shows have done this, like Battlestar Galactica and Red Dwarf, where they made up their own swear words that,
Oh yeah, like frack.
smeg. Yeah, frack and smeg and everything. I always think Red Dwarf because that's the more obvious one, but you know, why are we using earth-based slang and earth-based
Gestures.
obscenities when we've got these diverse cultures? And like, for instance, betazoids, if they're that isolationist, they're not going to know what a middle finger means. We don't even have a middle finger in the next generation. It it
Yeah.
doesn't it
It's
feels,
kind of like the universal translator is working on gestures.
yeah, and it's jarring.
Well,
It's
it's kind of like,
jarring.
again, they're trying to be, is that cool? Because it feels to me like, when I was a teenager, maybe swearing or acting tough felt cool. But
Yep.
are the writers of this show teenagers who still want to be cool? Like that's my
Well, once
question is, if
again,
they're adults, they would know that it isn't cool. So you might want to have a few of them trying to be cool, but everybody's trying to be cool. And like, again, if everybody's special, then no one's special. There's no actual beacon of average or normal or anything, right? So it all just becomes a blend in the end, right? Because they all end up being the same, no matter how different they look.
well, I think it's telling that you start off with your protagonist, Caleb, being a criminal. It's kind of telling for the entire world. Once again, as I said, these kids have been raised in terrible circumstances, and somehow they're trying to put this. They're not a ragtag team. They certainly don't look like that. But there seems to be an emphasis on transgressing. So
It feels a lot like Marvel movies because if you look at Marvel movies, every character has like this tragic, horrible backstory. And
right.
Marvel is notorious for it. And that's what this feels like because every single one of these kids obviously has a tragic, horrible backstory because we got to see like Remy or whatever his name is, the arrogant one. We got to see
Yeah.
like him dictating letters to his family and stuff like that. He's got the tragic backstory. you know, Genesis has the tragic backstory. Caleb has a tragic backstory. Like, do we have anybody, like, is
Well,
anybody ever
I call
raised
this
normally?
trauma TV, which
Yeah.
is these days most series, limited series, etc., have a tragic backstory. And just as an aside, I talked to somebody who was involved in the Baywatch reboot for Fox, and said, the writer, and said he was being pushed by the studio to give one of the, you know, the David Hasselhoff character a tragic background
Yeah.
for Baywatch.
Well, you know, that's
Well,
fine. Caleb can have a tragic backstory, but
they
it
don't
would
all
be
need
great
one.
if Genesis didn't, if she was there because her dad was a general, or, you know, an admiral, and that's what she wanted to be, that
Yeah.
like they had a really tight relationship and she felt she wanted to carry on the legacy, right? Because there are some families who are military families or firefighter families or
Absolutely.
whatever.
And
And
there
that would
are,
have been a real positive thing, right? And the same with, you know, Rachel Weisz Jr., the Betazoid.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
if she was not, everybody's, it's like this competition of who has the most family trauma, right?
Yeah.
So
And
what did we like?
I'm getting the sense that I love the Rachel Weisz Jr. comment. So I may call her Rachel from now on. But it's pretty obvious that they're going for, if she is released, she can somehow kill people, or, you know, kill people with her mind, or, you know, she flares up, or I have no idea what. And that feels very Marvel to me.
Yeah. Like I noticed in this episode, they made a point of showing her, like, her inhibitor. It turns red at certain points and she like freezes.
Yep.
And then it turns blue again. And I'm still thinking she's probably like the character in the episode Tin Man, where chances are her Betazoid, you know, her Betazoid telepathy was turned on at birth, which isn't supposed to happen, but does in some cases, like a birth defect. And that's why she's that way. But I noticed it was interesting, like her interactions with Caleb, like it was turning red at points.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay,
Right.
great. We're going to see something here. And then we see nothing. And it was like the one little bit of drama that I would have been like, that got me interested. And then we see nothing. And I'm like, why?
That they're holding back.
Yeah.
that they're threading. But I also think that this felt kind of small. I mean, contained is fine, but even episode 2 was very contained, but it still had larger reverberations.
Yeah.
For the galaxy. And this one was very 90210.
Yeah.
So
I will say, number one, though, I absolutely loved her scenes in the gymnasium. You know,
Yep.
I love her. I can't help it. I just love her to bits. She's amazing. She reminds me of all those she reminds me of all those military movies, like Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that.
Right, right. Or the officer and a gentleman drill sergeants.
Yeah. I love her. Like she's the kind of person where it's like, honestly, she's the one character I actually enjoy in the show right now, because she's got the most personality and she's the most three-dimensional of all of them so far, even if she's leaning into a bit of a trope, because I love the way a lot of things she says are half Klingon theory and half Jemadar theory. Like, I love that side of her.
I think she's hilarious.
I think she's got the most defined personality. I think Zara does. Is it Zara? Yeah, Zara does too. But again, it feels like a bunch of tacked on traits and not a cohesive whole for her.
Yeah.
And I think I have not a theory, but is just a comment, which is the original Lanthian is Carol Kane, and when you go that wacky for your your first one, you kind of feel like you need to be wacky for the second one.
Right. Yeah.
I see it as
I don't even mind the whack
it's
and
off-putting.
the hippiness, but it's like the camera zooms in on the feet. Again, it's because my thought is that they are making this because I've been hearing this, but I don't know if it's actually true, that they're making it because in a way that people who are watching it as a second device can follow it. So if you didn't see the feet the first time because you were making dinner or looking at your phone, you're gonna see the feet this time, right? And did somebody just turn on comments or something?
Yeah, Dan did. I was gonna.
Yeah,
put
I
comments
was
in
going to
here.
say
Oh.
that. I think I said that last week, that basically Alex Kurtzman took his pointed to his children as the inspiration for this show, his Gen
Yeah.
Z children.
Yeah, and then Dan's other comments, he said they had a Tarina in Discovery and now a Tarima in Starfleet Academy.
Mm.
And then he also comments that the backwards basketball goal was done in Alien 4, which, I mean, the backwards basketball goal's been in a lot of movies, especially
Yeah.
teen movies. It's like it's a trope on its own.
That's right. Yeah.
Like it really is a trope on its own. So
Yeah, nice to see that basketball survived until the 32nd
It seemed
century.
quite dense, though. It seemed like a dense, heavier kind of
I thought it was a
ball.
mechanical basketball because some of its movements in the air did not seem normal.
That's because it's CGI.
Okay, yeah, because then it's very clunky CGI. They could have done better because some of
Yeah.
the way some of
Because
the throws
there's
went-
no way that she could do a backwards basket.
Yeah.
So they needed her to go like this, and for the ball to be CGI and go in.
But
When
most
she
of
was
her
holding it,
throws,
it looked like it had holes in
hollow.
it.
Yeah, like hollow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that craft where you put like the glue covered string on a balloons and then you pop the balloon later when the glue is dry, so you get like the wire ball thing.
I remember that. Yeah.
But like I was watching the path of the basketball and I'm like, basketballs don't travel that way because every throw she did, almost every throw, it was, if that's CG, it was the worst CG I've ever seen because it was, and it's embarrassing for Star Trek because like the basketball, it, like if you pay attention, it moves in ways that it would not move once it was thrown. Like the trajectory it was thrown according to is not the trajectory we saw. And that jarred me because I'm like, what the heck is going on with this basketball? Is it a mechanical basketball? Is she beta? Do betazoids have telekinesis now that they can move the basketball? Like what the?
Okay, that would be funny. Yeah, I once again, I think this is a real attempt to get a new audience into Star Trek, and that seems to be the mandate, the old mandate at least, from Alex Kurtzman's company, and maybe the old Paramount. I don't know what Skydance's mission is for Star Trek, and it seems to be very shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, Dan's
hard.
prompting me here. That's why I'm looking at my phone because we didn't have a lot of questions going into this one, but we do have a couple in the group. So I'm just gonna read Dan's post verbatim here because it's easier for me. So he says, "Here's a question during my absence. The rivalry during training between the Academy and the War College reminds me of rivalry during training between Starfleet and the Makos in the third season of Enterprise. Apart from the obvious Mugato mascot, are there any parts of episode 3 that stand out as reminders to you of previous Trek?" Well, I said the one scene reminds me of Discovery, so.
And I said, I think earlier, that it reminded me of Next Gen and Deep Space Nine's Ensign Ro, who needed to become part of a team who came with a tragic slash mixed background in terms of what she was, what she had done, and basically had to learn to trust and be part of a team. So, but honestly, that's a general theme um, that I agree is a good theme, but it's all in the execution. And this theme was give me a hammer, give me a nail, and it's right there. You know, you couldn't get better rivalry than two teams on a playing field in your Quidditch redux of Calica. I do admire them coming up with a new name for a sport. And I really I did like Sam's comment that it's laser tag with
Yeah.
you know, and they're like, oh no, this isn't laser tag. And part of it's, yeah, it is laser tag.
I did not. I wasn't reminded of anything. Although when you said Ensign Rowe, I did. I did recognize that, but I just thought that again was just something we've seen. This rivalry, it gives an excuse to see some growth sometimes, right? Get to know the
Right.
characters a little. My only thing with the laser tag is, we've got Minnie Mouse.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Genesis?
No, the
Sam.
Sam.
yeah, Sam.
She
Yeah,
does look like a Minnie Mouse.
Oh, right, Minnie Mouse.
But the everything goes through her, right? So why is
Yeah.
she running through there screaming in fear? She can't be killed. Like she can't. Like
she can't be. Yeah, she can't be put in the penalty box.
Yeah, and so I they'll work out the character kinks over the next couple of
I think that's
episodes.
supposed
I'm
to
sure.
remind us
but-
too, like she was literally born yesterday, essentially. So it could be that because later on in the episode, she makes a big deal about, I can be permeable, like,
Right.
Right.
Like
But I thought we knew
when
that
she
from last time. Oh,
I
yeah.
thought she forgot. I took it as she forgot that she had this ability, and the initial experience of being thrown in that arena, kind of threw her off because she's literally a baby.
Yeah, but
And then,
why
she
is she a
remembers.
baby? Like that's what I don't understand. Like if she's computer generated, why is she a baby? Like
Well,
anyway.
yeah, that's also because she's not, unless they're trying to simulate humanity more, because most species are adult, can fend for themselves very well a day or two after being born. 4 months for a giraffe or a wolf or something like that is fully functional. And it's interesting that I see where it works in the social side, because it seems as though she was not socialized very well. Maybe that's a photonic thing. Except then we have the doctor. So
Yeah, I don't like. Isn't it programmed? I mean, don't you remember
yeah,
when they were going to base another doctor on Bashir, right? In
Yeah,
Deep Space
I
Nine.
remember that episode.
Yeah, and they were making sure that it looked real and that it had everything that Bashir had plus, right? And so yeah, it's just again I feel a bit nitpicky, but it when you have a few things that just don't ring true, it overshadows anything that does, for me anyway. Yeah, Michelle, you didn't get to answer the question. Did the fight remind you did the rivalry remind you of anything in the past?
Well, I have actually been asking myself one question, is that I do remember the Marcos from Enterprise, and wondering the War College is like a modern interpretation of that military, a sort of military warlike wing plus the Starfleet wing, and then
I
just
think this was, isn't this sort of explained as coming out of the end of the Federation, that everyone had to sort of fend for themselves militarily, so there became more of a martial culture through the galaxy, universe, whatever. But it's the same thing with the Makos of bringing in sort of this heightened, higher stakes, life or death sort of vision, and that not everything can be dealt with by diplomacy.
no,
Which is implicit in Star Trek because there are big starships that fire phasers, but
yeah,
is not so evident in original Next Gen, or and Deep Space Nine. I'm about to say it's not inherent in humans from Earth either, and so this was, I think, Enterprise was more of a kind of signaling that this was a pre-Federation
yeah,
world, and now we're in a post-Federation world, but once again trying to get back to it, but I'm not sure what we're trying to get back to, because Starfleet Academy doesn't seem to be very Starfleety.
That's fair. Honestly, seeing, like, I saw the previews for this episode before I watched it, and my initial thought is, oh, we're doing Take Me Out to the Holodeck from Deep Space Nine. That was my
take it
initial
to
thought.
Holosuite.
Yeah. But the thing is, Deep Space Nine did it right.
Yeah.
This one, it just felt like, yeah, we're doing this episode because we're going to make them a team and we're going to just smash it all
Like I
together.
said,
It
on
just
the nose.
never mind on the nose, it was hit on the head. Like,
Yeah, with a
And
hammer.
they were in the middle of a war at that point. Therefore, that's a little bit of light entertainment and a little time to light your hair down, sort of thing.
the other question we had in the chat, but I think we kind of answered it a little bit, was, how does everyone feel about Holly Hunter's character being so irreverent and casual? Is it overdone or not? My theory is she's like Pelia. She knows she's off-putting and she does it on purpose because she gets entertainment value out of it.
And she's probably of an age where she just doesn't care.
Yeah, it just rubs me as a little off for the Starfleet Chancellor. Maybe that's supposed to be good. Like I said, she feels like the cool hippie mom for these traumatized kids. But it seems like she's only that. And now we know she's clever, even though I think I had a logic break with how these kids actually put together all her clues.
I thought she was being really obvious that she was giving him clues. Like, right to patting her own bum to talk about his butt eyeball.
Oh, yeah, it's T-ball, or his T-eyeball, whatever it was. Yeah, that, but I don't know, even bringing out the plant and patience and all of that stuff was, oh, we need patience now. Okay. I don't know. It didn't quite work for me.
So I'm with you. You guys know this, right?
Yeah.
But I think what would work well for the character, and sadly I think it's too late because it would have had to been done at the beginning, is for her to be the hippie, to be the lanthanite, and to show that even a 422-year-old lanthanite will put on some shoes for the sake of the Federation and Starfleet. that you all can be individuals. We want you to be individuals, and we need to have these codes of conduct in order to get through this, in order so that we speak the same language when we're out doing our exploration or whatever it is, whether it's war or science or meeting new groups of people, right? You're representing something. And so she could have really gotten into her lanthanitism and showed that what this means is that you put on the uniform, you get the haircut, you do this for now, right? And then maybe later something can change, right?
Interestingly, when they, in the first beats of the pilot, she is absolutely a commander of this station or planet or whatever, where she has to deal with Paul Giamatti. I forget his character now because he's been gone. Right. And when she's the whole preamble with Caleb the child being taken from his mother, she was absolutely Starfleet. She was not hippie-ish at all. So maybe subliminally I'm feeling that contrast too. Of, is taking the Starfleet position kind of a joke, or is she trying to communicate some way of, because what she's communicating, if it's true, Eve, that she's just knows she's off-putting and she's having fun with it, that's kind of a message for a bunch of students. And I don't know what that message really does.
How do you like her, Michelle?
Well, I quite like hippie, the sort of hippie attitude anyway. Yeah, she's just so laid back, and she doesn't care what people think of her.
Yes, which is nice.
Yeah, and I like that sort of thing.
Somebody, we have a viewer here, DM viewing, says Genesis is a great character and I really like her. And I have to agree, like I'm very interested in her because while she's got the daddy issues, she's interesting. Like, Caleb, we're being spoon-fed what he is. We're being spoon-fed what the arrogant dude is. We're being spoon-fed the hologram. We're not being spoon-fed Genesis.
I thought this was that this episode served her the best.
Yeah.
And it also had a beginning, middle, and end for her, which was it was a good Genesis story, no pun intended. And I liked her a lot better. I like what Victoria said about, wouldn't it be interesting if she actually didn't have the daddy issues and she had a close relationship with her father and wanted to follow in his footsteps, because that could set up a whole bunch of conflicts later on. But I do like Genesis, or see her potential. So
we don't know much about her. We don't know anything about her species too, which makes her interesting.
Why do they keep calling her Bajoran?
Oh, do they?
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either. She's not the job.
She doesn't.
I know. That's why I thought maybe she's half Bajoran or something.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah. Because when I don't know if it was the War College people who were taunting her, or somebody else who was saying, literally, I thought somebody said, "You're Bajoran, aren't you?" or something like that. Maybe I was watching a parallel universe, a mirror universe episode.
Maybe they said it as an insult or something.
Or maybe she was raised on Bajor.
Right.
Dan says
That's
she was a Darsha.
Yeah,
I've
Darsha.
never heard of Darsha, so that's got to be a new race.
right, right. I, maybe I misheard Bejor, Darsha for Bejor. It's quite possible that I missed it somehow. Good, because she didn't look Bajoran to me either.
She's definitely very Starfleet, though, in that, like, okay, she didn't get the captain spot initially, but she still showed up. She was
Oh
willing to
yeah.
put she was willing to put her pride behind her a little bit for the sake of the team, which I liked. And then later on she didn't directly try to usurp the guy, but she was going like, we are seriously losing and his strategy is failing and failing and failing. And what did Einstein say the definition of insanity was? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So like she, out of all of the characters, she seems the most Starfleet to me.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
She's capable, she's competent, and I like her. I mean, I like Sam too, but now that somebody said she was Minnie Mouse, I'm gonna start thinking.
Sorry, not sorry.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I have a student who has the same hairstyle, and I've often thought, oh, Minnie Mouse, but
um,
but yeah, hopefully we find out more about these Darsha, because for me, the new races are the interesting ones.
and I'm waiting for the Admiral to show up.
Oh, the Dad
Yeah.
Merle.
The dad.
Yeah.
Dad Merle, yeah.
Yeah. Dadmiral. That's fantastic.
I picked that up on some Star Trek. I just picked that up on some Star Trek forum. Somebody started calling them Dadmiral, and I'm like, oh yeah, yep, he's a Dadmiral. So, all right. So, anybody have any other thoughts before we close out?
Yeah,
Because
like
Dan's got the controls here, so
I'm
can't.
gonna keep watching. I wouldn't normally because I have a lot of other things I'd like to watch. If somebody sent me these episodes as a way to get me to sign up for Paramount, I wouldn't. Right? But I'm going to keep watching, and I'm hoping that there is some finding of their land legs, and just kind of, okay, where are we? Maybe the stories can spread out a bit. Like I said, if the arrogant guy hadn't been welcomed in, if that was sort of a little bit of a loose story, like I know they want them to be bottle episodes, but in a lot of Star Trek, there was at least one kind of loose thing that would come back that wouldn't really have mattered if you hadn't seen every episode. And besides, this is streaming, so eventually people will be binging these anyway, and it's not like on TV where you've missed it and now, unless you buy the DVD, you're out of luck, right? So, I'll keep watching. I do think that there's a lot of mixed reviews out there, so I was relieved to see that because I love Star Trek, right? I love talking about it. I like all of people in the fandom, and I just feel I feel like my parents. I want to say I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So that's where I am today.
What about you, Phyllis?
Well, I'm with Victoria, except with my experience in watching a whole bunch of streaming series that I won't name, but there was one particular this season started off just over the top and crazy, and I was like, and boring even, and I was like, this is lost it. And then by about it's a 10 episode series, and by about the 5th episode it started to take off. So and I was also told that about another sci-fi series that I was kind of stalled on. So I know the value of continuing to watch, but once again, if these were the only 3 episodes I had and I had to judge the series on them, I would be disappointed too.
That's totally fair. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I'm still pretty much on the fence. I want to see more before I can judge the series as a whole.
For myself, I look at it as, okay, the first episode had to be explosive and mind grabbing because look at all the shows that are popular on streaming right now that they're competing with. I mean, Stranger Things just wrapped up with their last season, and that was, really, it was a stunning visual effects ride and everything else. They've got Fallout, which is the big one right now, at least here. So they're competing with
Same
shows.
here.
Yeah, they're competing, and I'm a Fallout fan, but they're competing with these shows like Fallout and Stranger Things and stuff like that. So I get that the first episode they were trying to, shove everything in there to get your attention, but I'll be honest, like the last time I was this take it or leave it about a Star Trek series, it would have been when I watched the animated series, which is other than Prodigy, it's the only one that I watched it only once and never rewatched it again because it was forgettable to me. And so far this is feeling like I said, Degrassi Starfleet Edition or Starfleet 90210. It feels like a teen movie or a teen drama to me. But like I say, I bring my bias that I didn't have a typical high school. I didn't even have a typical university experience. So I bring that bias. So maybe that's my bias, but it's right now it's like, I'm a huge Trekkie. I'm a completionist. So I'll watch it, but it's not the highlight of my week like Strange New Worlds was or Lower Decks.
Right.
Lower Decks is fantastic.
Yeah, where I was like, okay, I can't wait for the Thursday episode drop. I'm not thinking that my entire thing right now is, ooh, Fallout's out on Wednesday. Oh, and then there's the new Star Trek on Thursday. I better watch that. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I watched it right away. Well, right away on Friday because I knew I'd be talking with you guys. So, there's something there. I guess the thing that we'll see over time is I hear everybody saying, hey, they want to get new watchers in, right? They
which
want to
makes
develop
sense.
new fans.
You need
Does
new
it
blood.
though? Does it? Because sure, you've got maybe the people who were watching the original series, maybe they were teenagers then, so they're young boomers, right? And now they're getting older, but they're streaming, they're watching Star Trek still, but maybe they're worried that this huge amount of fans are going to die off. But you've got this, and again, I feel like maybe Gen X has been forgotten, but you've got this massive amount of people who are rewatching and rewatching and rewatching Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, right? And throwing in some of the original series. You've already got a fan base, and now what you're doing is you're not actually doing something that's going to keep that fan base. They're just going to go back to watch Voyager again, right?
Yeah.
And you're not creating new fan base because the young people these days are mature when it comes to the media they watch, right? So an 18-year-old is watching something more mature than an 18-year-old might have in the 70s and 80s. So I think they're just off the mark, and we'll see if they can make a switch on that. I don't know who their testing audiences were. Maybe they were young people. It would be interesting if they had fans, a variety of ages, to watch these shows, and give some feedback. But I don't know how that works. Maybe Phyllis can tell us. But it's interesting because I don't think they're creating new fans.
Yeah, I'm having a sense that this was everybody connected to the show and their teenage or actually 20 something kids, and that maybe they tested or tried, but it probably was more of a Hail Mary than anything else. I will deny that if it's just Starfleet Academy is low hanging fruit. It's
Yeah.
been on the books for so long and intrigues so many people, and it's so contained that it makes sense. And I will say once again, I think that them placing it in this, what I consider another universe in the 32nd century after the burn and after everything we've seen through Discovery's later seasons, I think that was the right way to go.
Yeah.
Even though when I heard Starfleet Academy, I thought of something a little more traditional, which is just me. So I really think, like Michelle says, the jury is completely out. And I hope people keep watching for the sake of Star Trek, but I hope there's a better recognition maybe of who the viewers really are.
And Victoria, that point you made about you watch Deep Space Nine and then you go into like Voyager or Enterprise. I'm a member of Gen X myself, and the last time I rewatched Deep Space Nine, I went straight back to Enterprise.
Like I give Discovery a fair bit of grace because to me Discovery came 20 years after Enterprise. Like for Discovery, if they had
10 years more, like
I can't remember, but like Discovery had like clunky episodes or it had like some ham-fisted episode. I'll give it a pass because it's like, okay, there was a jump in real world and what the real world is willing to watch and accept, and the writers were using Discovery to figure it out. But
yeah, and they also went through so many writers because the studio was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I'll give Discovery a lot of grace for that. Because that was like it was like the TNG of now, because Next Generation went through that in their first season, like trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. But but when you've got shows like Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks that were completely, home run hits, there's no excuse for if Academy flops. There really isn't grace to be given there because they had Discovery to experiment on. They've had Strange New Worlds, which is solid. They've had Lower Decks, which is solid. And honestly, Academy feels a little bit like they took the writers of Lower Decks and tried to make a Starfleet college show out of it. Like
they actually
a lot
did
of the writing
one.
feels like
They
Lower
took
Decks.
Mariner, who's a writer on the show.
I noticed her name on the credits at the beginning as an executive producer.
Well, that was something I was sitting on and I couldn't say it, but now that it's out in the open, I can say it because I met her in Vulcan last year for the convention. She came to Alberta and she was telling us that she was in the writer's room and she was going to be involved very heavily with upcoming Star Trek projects. And I mean, her background is definitely comedy and stuff like that. But it feels like some of the stuff they're doing in the show so far, and I don't know if it's her or the other writers. I get the sense it's more the other writers. It feels kind of like they're taking some of the things that worked in Lower Decks and trying to put it in this show, but it doesn't work. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. The thing that gets me is, I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but I'm going to mention another show that I think did Star Trek really well, and that was The Orville, which was funny and beautiful, but it was funny. And so if you want to be like, I don't know why, I know it wasn't Star Trek, but you can actually take from that. I mean, it took from Star Trek clearly, right? And
completely.
That's modern, and that was just chef's kiss, right? So,
and I went into that show wondering if I was going to hate it because Seth MacFarlane, his humor is, well, Family Guy, anybody,
right?
like like his humor tends to be, unfortunately, potty humor and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the Orville, I was like super pleasantly surprised. I'm like, okay, this is a guy who gets Star Trek.
Oh,
And
he's
this
a
is a guy.
huge Trekkie.
Yes,
Huge.
yes,
Loves Star
yes.
Trek. Yeah,
But I mean, going into it, it's understandable to have misgivings when you've seen his other work.
absolutely.
And then,
Absolutely, yeah.
but then to see how he treated things, and like somebody, I remember seeing not too long ago on a forum, somebody pointed out the episodes with Clyden and Bortus and their child, that the Orville did, you know, got into the LGBT plus community with those episodes, that the Orville was doing it better than modern Star Trek, which was saying something, you know?
Well, because I think it's respecting the audience,
Yeah.
right? It's not feeding the audience. It's not, it's saying, if you get this, you get this, but I'm not going to dumb it down for you. Right. And I think that there's something that feels good about that. And yeah.
Yeah, there's always a danger in the new Trek that started out with Discovery, in it having a taste of, we really didn't like the original legacy shows. We want to do something different, but they pulled all the nostalgia, you know, mirror universe right away, and literal repeats of TNG shows and things like that. And I wonder whether, in trying to appeal to a different demographic, they're somewhat dismissing what makes Star Trek great. And that's my big question for the season.
Does anyone else have any other thoughts before we wrap up? I'm trying to keep to like the timetable Dan gives us. So
Absolutely.
Cool.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
does anybody know what their schedule is? Like, are they still filming season 1, or is that done?
No,
And
that's
any
done.
feedback?
It's done.
So all of
It's
this,
done.
hoping that that they're going to get this feedback, is not going to help us this season, but it may help us next season, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
And possibly, you know, you can look to TNG for a template for first season, really didn't find itself. Second season, here we go. Maybe somebody needs to grow a beard.
Dan
Yeah,
says
I
that
just
about half.
I want
Dan just
TN
commented they're halfway through season 2 filming. So
Oh, I see. Maybe they had feedback from themselves, even, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
But the thing with, I mean, we talk about TNG. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of that first season, because I don't remember at the time feeling the way I feel now. Now, it obviously, I didn't go in with expectations like I do now about messaging and philosophy. And although I thought it was a little bit similar to the original series in its community theater kind of setting and sets and stuff, I don't mind that, because I can watch the original series now with its community theater staging and still get that deep message, right? And that's what I mean, this was like, oh, okay, yeah, teamwork, friends, like, I guess I could pull out a message from this, but you know, it's not deep, right? And I think TNG still had at least that. Well, Gene was still involved.
Well, Gene was still alive, and
Okay.
so it definitely had that to the. And one of the things I remember a long time ago, I worked on a sci-fi retrospective, a clip show, and we interviewed Michael Piller, the late Michael Piller, and he was talking about the fact that what was hard about TNG was that if everybody got along, then there was no conflict, and without conflict, there was no drama. And they discovered that they could pull all the conflict from the outside. It had to all be aliens. And that's what helped turn it around, in his opinion. So I found that interesting, and it's definitely gone by the wayside. Conflict between humans is right back in center. So
Dan
um
posts I had a middling opinion about episodes 1 to 3, but episodes 4 to 6 have blown my mind, especially 4 and 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Dan's seen into the future, so
Okay,
Thank you, Dan.
that's encouraging.
but yeah, honest, like for me, the first episode of TNG I saw, and it was actually the first episode of Star Trek I ever saw, was that god awful episode with Beverly Crusher and the Candle Ghost.
Oh
And
no.
if I'd have
One of
judged,
the worst in history.
if I'd have judged all of Star Trek by that episode,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
never have been a fan. So I'm really, really trying with this one, because I'm like, maybe this is just the few god awful episodes like Code of Honor and The Candle
Right.
Ghost and Masks was another one that just was like, what the heck? But
Right.
yeah, if I'd have judged all of Star Trek based on the first episode of Star Trek I ever saw, I never would have watched.
Early,
think
early
that-
DS9 had its issues as well.
And I mean, Ronald D. Moore can write. I'm a huge Outlander fan, so he can write that kind of story. So I go back now and I'm like, yeah, I can't watch this episode because it's terrible. It really
Well,
is.
that's good. We'll keep plugging along.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it would be
well,
great if
I'm
it could be
encouraged now
something.
that
Yeah.
Dan's kind of let the let the coming up teaser spill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, I know Dan is very particular in the Star Trek he likes, and he's very, you know, that's what I love about Dan. He's not shy with, saying what he thinks about them. This podcast started out because he had a beef with Lower Decks originally. So,
Right.
because I remember that. But
we do come to this, like, it's kind of a double-edged sword here. It's like, I really want to like it. So I have these sort of higher expectations in some way, which isn't fair to a new show.
Yeah.
And so, I've got to kind of give it some space, but at the same time, after so many series of Star Trek, you'd think that, and especially if new Trek, that some of these lessons would have already been learned, right? So, but they're dealing with different people, right? There's no one person, I guess, going, hey, this is what we learned on the series 2 series ago. Like, let's not do this, right? So yeah, I mean, look, to do this webcast with you guys, I got to get up really early.
Yes.
So I'm hoping it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're halfway through the second season, God help us.
Well, it's good because I don't want to wait 2 years. Like, that was one thing that I don't like about the streaming is I'll forget, right? Like, I haven't seen the second season of Severance, and I really loved Severance, and I haven't even seen the third season of Strange New Worlds. And it's just because it just takes so long, and now I'm into something else. And yet I binged 3 series last year, right? Because they were out. And so, that it's a bit of a problem with streaming.
And me, I keep up on the shows because working a graveyard shift job, shows coming on at certain days are like anchors in the week, so I know what day of the week it is. It sounds weird, but it's true. When you go into work and it's one day and you come out and it's the next day, your schedule ends up messed up. But it's funny because I'm like looking at the shows. The only shows I'm really watching that are current is Fallout and Star Trek. And then I'm looking at what I'm actually watching outside that, and I'm going back to classic sci-fi, like I'm rewatching Stargate, for instance. Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis. We don't talk about universe; it doesn't exist. But I'm going back and watching older sci-fis like that, or we just finished rewatching Red Dwarf. So, and
wow,
what?
I haven't heard Red Dwarf in ages.
My boyfriend is a huge fan, and he got me into it. So
It's a great series.
it's
really
hilarious.
cool.
It's hilarious.
It's absolutely hilarious, but
It is.
a real cult favorite.
This
Yeah.
sounds like something I should check out because well, I was a kid at the time that it came out originally. My parents didn't even let me watch it because they didn't like it.
It's not, the funny thing is, it's not a vulgar show or anything. It's literally, you know, 4 people in a spaceship drifting through space. Well, one's a cat technically, but
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say it's just inventive and original.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And it stars Craig Charles.
Exactly. But we're going to wrap this up. So we hope everybody watching now or watching later enjoyed this review. If you haven't yet, click the like and subscribe because, you know, viewers are why we make these reviews. We like to see you guys. We like people to message in like DM viewing today. And thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the season. We'll be back here next Saturday, which for some of us is at a really awful early morning hour. So but we'll be back next Saturday and live long and prosper.
All right.
Wow.